Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are now live on Facebook. For those of you watching at home, we will begin at approximately 7 p.m. with our Community Commission meeting, beginning with the Arts Commission, followed by Beautification and Welcoming and Diversity. But in reality, all three are going to kind of blend together tonight with some of the items. So we'll get started in just a few moments. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin in just a few moments at 7 o'clock for our Community Commission meeting, starting with Arts, followed by Beautification and Welcoming and Diversity. All right, we'll go ahead and get started because I'm impatient. It's call to order of our Arts, Beautification, and Welcoming and Diversity committees this evening. We will begin with basically going over the agenda. If there are any questions or additions, feel free to make them at the time of your committee. Before we get started, I did want to make sure that everyone here and the dozens of people watching at home, that you do have the opportunity to sign up as a volunteer for the Tomato Festival. We are taking volunteers. You can go to our Tomato Festival webpage and find out that you can volunteer for any number of wonderful activities. The spots are actually going pretty fast. We've had a really good response so far from some of our local community groups, so I just want to make sure everybody here has all the information that they need. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to the chair of the Arts Commission. Take it away, Ruvain.
Thank you. As far as new business, one thing here prior to your discussion of the signal painting opportunity. But John, if you'd like to come up and share, we did a little collaboration between the Arts Commission and Welcoming and Diversity, and so I want to bring John up to introduce that.
Well, thanks, Ruvain. I'm sitting in for chair tonight for the Welcoming and Diversity Committee. And from, it's been over a year, maybe 2 years now, all through the process of COVID, our committee had been meeting on Zoom, and one of our initiatives was to create a yard sign identifying Reynoldsburg and what Reynoldsburg is or stands for. And I brought the idea to our commission from seeing a yard sign that was in the hometown of Fort Thomas, Kentucky, where my daughter lives. And I thought, oh, that's kind of a nice thing for people to have yard signs to identify the city they live in and what they stand for. So I thought it would be nice to have a yard sign in the city of Reynoldsburg. So along with that, I thought it would be nice to collaborate with the Arts Commission because the yard sign had to be designed. So I thought, well, it'd be nice to have two committees to collaborate. So we did. It was really quite a conversation on our commission about what would be on the sign. And we went through quite a few discussions and time. and came up with a list of terms that might identify Reynoldsburg and who we are and what we aspire to. So I contacted Rouvain, and he was more than willing to collaborate with us. And so this, after many meetings and many conversations, this is this is the proposal that we have for Reynoldsburg, Ohio, 1839. It's a community of respect, inclusion, diversity, opportunity, education, and history. And Rouvain did a great job on using the city's template for color, font and color and all that kind of thing. And so this is what we're bringing tonight to propose, that our two commissions are proposing that this be accepted in the city. So that was our part of it. Rouvain, anything to add on that? How you felt about the process of collaborating with our committee?
Yeah, it was great working with you, and when you give a blank slate with just a very few parameters, it makes things a little easier and very easy to work with. So it sounds like the plan would be to create a bundle of these and offer them to the community. Do you want to?
Yeah,
Speak to that.
There are a couple of different options that we can do. Obviously, the hope is that as we move forward, that we can find some opportunity to provide additional funding for the Arts Commission that would kind of be spread really throughout all commissions for certain things, to actually provide these signs to residents of their choosing. There's also the opportunity that if you wanted to make a donation to it, to kind of put into a fund to kind of build this program up from there. The hope would be that once this is approved and everybody thinks that, hey, this is what it looks like, we can start gathering some quotes from various groups that actually produce these signs in hopes of having them out this summer at some of our bigger events, whether that is the Artist and Makers Market, 4th of July, Juneteenth, things of that nature all the way across so people can collect them. And as the time goes by, I think we will probably not, we're going to run out at some point in time, then continue to have this kind of brought in and maybe update and alter every few years just to keep things fresh and new and all of that. But it's be something that would be nice to have out in the yards that just truly shows what Reynoldsburg's all about.
Right. When our commission comes up to present, I'll want to circle back and just share a little bit about what our committee went through just in proposing and discussing about the terms and words. I think that's
Right.
interesting. So I'll circle back on that when I come up.
Great, thank you. And one more thing about that. I think that it gives us sort of an opportunity to look at a touch of the beautification side as well. That when they were all part of one unit, we were discussing branding for the city and identification and pride in community and all those types of things. And I think this is a great step toward that. And so I thank you for bringing that to us.
Yeah, we did get a question on social media. I think you just kind of answered part of it about trying to achieve, what's the purpose, what's the goal and something like that. And so you kind of added to it.
Right.
The other questions were, who does read signs? There's a lot of generic sell your house signs now, that type of thing. But at the same time, for something like this, we do see signs that are out there about, expressing views on, their own feelings about, the values of the homeowner, things of that nature. And this kind of just goes on for some common themes throughout the entire city of Reynoldsburg. So.
Right. And I think it sort of ties everybody together when, we can sort of be caught up in our own neighborhoods and our own lives, and to have it sort of a unifying look that brings everybody's yard together, and all the residents can share in that Reynoldsburg pride. I think that's a good thing.
I'm looking forward to it. If there's no major objections, if there's no major suggestions for anything, we'll give it maybe a nice 24-hour period for those that are watching if they want to send in any comments, or any members of the audience who would prefer to speak without a camera on them, which I completely understand. So there we'll go. I'm not sure what the comment on social media is about the real audience, but perhaps if you would like to explain on that one, we'll get back to you at the time. In the meantime, the next opportunity out there is the signal painting opportunity. We had hoped to have this thing moving a little faster, but when we started going out, originally we looked at specific locations in areas that are high traffic areas around schools, things like that, for basically wrapping the big signal boxes, and I can only see some of you. There you are. Wrapping some of the signal boxes that would be there, and it would basically kind of add some of the artistic talent to it, have representatives from the school make contributions, members of the community do things, very similar to what you may see in other communities. I know Hilliard has one because they have their flower, which I believe is the sunflower, kind of throughout their entire community on these signal boxes. So instead of seeing a very large green something, now all of a sudden we have something with a little bit more artistic out there. We have kind of looked through and figured out, some of the local company that would hopefully be providing these for us, and we are starting to get cost estimates. Then the question became where we were going to go. We went to some that we thought by location would be great, but when we got there, the signal boxes were actually smaller than your typical computer screen. And so at that point, that seemed kind of pointless to do something that small when you're driving by. You're not going to necessarily see it. So we're getting a number of other addresses kind of got together, and hopefully we'll start doing that and advertising that. Our internal goal is hopefully having that out at the farmers market for information for people that would like to submit things with that.
I love that idea, and I'm wondering if there's a way to expand it, into the future with the nice flags that are on the light poles now.
Mm-hmm.
To take some of that art, maybe some of the, if there's an overabundance of people who want to participate and not all can be used on the boxes, maybe there's another way to implement those designs in the flags or some other format.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities with all of that. Any other new business or old business from the Arts Commission?
There is not.
All right, and with that, we will go ahead and move on to the next one, which I hope you all stick around for. Beautification. With this one, just a reminder that we do have an Adopt a Road program, which is for litter cleanup. We have a number of organizations, including the Masons, and we have the Reynoldsburg Area Democrats. We have the Historical Society who's expressed interest, as well as the Chamber of Commerce about areas for that to kind of pick up certain parts of the road. That doesn't necessarily mean that those are the only ones. You don't have to have an organization or a group in that. You can have actually a smaller group to go ahead and do that, and we will provide the trash pickers, the garbage bags, and things of that nature here at City Hall. So at any point in time you want to do that. But to be officially recognized, you can go ahead and just kind of register your organization with the city. So maybe this would be something the Friends of Pine Quarry Park might look to do something in that particular area, even identifying a park specifically would be, open to that. To go in and pick up the litter. I know that when I'm out in the neighborhood walking my dogs with my wife is happy enough to take care of both dogs, and then I have a very large garbage bag and a trash picker, and living off of Kingsley and Taylor, unfortunately there's always an overabundance of trash to be picked up in that area, so just an opportunity for that. We also have, for beautification purposes, our Plant Reynoldsburg activity. This is on May 21st at 9 a.m. at City Hall. This will be here. We've done this a number of years. It's an absolutely wonderful event. People from all over come around to help kind of plant some trees. It is almost foolproof. Basically, you come in, the plants are already in the areas where you need to dig, and you put the plant in and cover it back up, and then we take it from there. Occasionally, maybe our Parks and Rec department on the other side of things actually goes through and replants anything that might need to be altered a little bit, or so I'm told. But that's an opportunity as well. And again, if you're a small organization that would like to join, or just a family, I know I've seen a couple in areas around Reynoldsburg. I saw one off of First Gate a few weeks ago, and before that off Birchview, where it was a family of 4 and a family or group of 6 that were walking around doing the same thing, just picking up trash, just because that's what they felt they needed to do. So we're always happy to go ahead and do that. With that, are there any other questions or comments as far as beautification, suggestions, ideas, anything whatsoever for beautification? Don't all speak up at once. There. Go ahead and come on up to the podium.
I'm new, so this
Oh.
might have already been covered, but I thought it wouldn't hurt to ask. Has there been any ideas about converting local spaces that are currently not in use, for example, like the Kmart, areas like that, doing any artwork or ironworks or something like that, something to maybe revitalize areas that don't necessarily look really sparkly or finished at this point?
No one's really suggested that, but it depends on who the property owners are. I will say that as far as the Kmart facility you're talking about, they're actually going to be submitting their plans for their design in August, so we're not that far along with it. May actually even be sooner based on an email from today. So I'm not opposed to it. The question is, the locations where, obviously, would be there. If you have suggestions, feel free, let us know. If they, hey, check out this location, that type of thing, then we can always talk and work with it. That's one of the parts of the beautification and arts is how it's trying to kind of work together in that regard to find locations that could actually have something there. They got into a point where they were talking about themes, about like what could we actually do? Would you want a consistent theme throughout the city or would you want something else? And as you all know, everyone's a critic when it comes to that point. And so that's why I kind of turned away and went to some more signal box orientations, things of that nature. But no, I have no problem with that. I think it'd be a great idea. A lot of cities do it. The question is just, are artists going to be asked to fund it themselves or is the city going to help out, that type of thing?
Gotcha. So
Yep.
it's a little logistic detail kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
logistical
everyone's
stuff,
into
but
it?
not anybody, I don't think anybody's going to be opposed to it. No, anything that we can do to beautify the city is the whole purpose of all of this.
Absolutely. How should I voice that communication? Is that something that I should speak with someone later on about?
Yeah, I believe you're on the email chain with everything. So at that point in time, I reach out to members of the Arts Commission and Beautification and say, hey, I would like to talk about A, B, and C. And then you can go ahead and throw the suggestions out there. And when the committees have their kind of suggestions, they can kind of let me know. And then that way we can put it in an agenda for the next week so we can actually talk about those things and actually start to develop a plan. One of the things that we're trying to do is establish a way for funding for the arts beautification, really all of our commissions to some extent. Military recognition is easy enough. The traffic and transportation typically is with our service department, but for these three committees that we're having tonight, they all kind of blend together. So we're trying to identify a sustainable funding chain to actually address some of those things, whether it's with art in terms of sculpture, whether it's music, and then the other one that has been a very hot topic is actually community theater. We did a lot of research over the last year and a half and have found that different community art commissions have their own focus, where Hilliard is very much more focused in theatrical art. Others, like Gehenna, for instance, have more in the way of music. And so then it's up to the commission themselves to actually identify what they would like to see the direction. Do we want to specialize in one or two, or do we want to be kind of a jack of all trades and do a little bit of everything in conjunction with what the city already does? So this is your opportunity to share those ideas and voice them as loud as you can, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. In terms of funding, this isn't something that I can just go out and get a check from like a local business or something like that, right? Is there like a special?
There is. We have to establish.
Avenue.
There's an arts commission fund from a now defunct arts commission from I think probably about 10 to 15 years ago. That's what we're looking to kind of start that. So let's just say for the instances for the signs, if we start a sign program and the signs are going to be, depending on how many you buy, let's say $5 to, out the door, $5. And if the commission decided they could charge $10, $5 would go for the sign, and then $5 could go into the till to actually generate additional revenue for funding some of that, as well as what we're hoping to do is kind of dedicate some funds from the city as well to kind of help fill those coffers for some other specific events once we start identifying what exactly the commissions would like to see throughout the community.
Sure. So there's not like a GoFundMe page or anything like that?
No,
Nothing
not
like
of this.
official,
No,
yeah.
any time that we get involved in the city, it becomes a very meticulous thing. Our auditor's office has very strict guidelines that they have to follow when it comes into that. Those are the good things and the bad things about commissions. If they're city-run, then it tends to be something that has to go through and play by the rules of the city. If it's something that is an outside organization, which is, again, one of the things that we learned, you have a little bit more freedom, but at the same time, maybe the resources are a little bit different just because you don't have the backing of the entire city with all of the resources that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So keep talking about that basically.
Yeah, keep talking. Yeah, I would, yeah. Everybody's more than happy to have, like, as you heard John had talked about, the committee had gotten together to talk about the signage, and they kind of passed back and forth ideas and things like that before they were able to present tonight. So that's kind of where we look at it at that point of view, to have those conversations so you can have something to present to us. So then that way, ultimately, I can take it to council and let council have weigh in on their points, because they're the ones that ultimately will approve funding, basically, for any project.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yep.
Crystal clear. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, with that, we'll go ahead and close out the Beautification Commission and move on to Welcoming and Diversity. The only real example in here, and this is kind of piggyback that John had on there, was the sign example, so that's something there. But was there anything else, John, that, come on up and we'll let you take it away. Microphone.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I apologize for not getting this other item on the agenda, but I wanted to circle back a little bit about our sign. I'll just hold it up again. So what we found, and Les is here tonight too, maybe he'll want to make a comment. As we were working on this as a committee, I found it very interesting that we started to have conversations about what these things meant to each of us in Reynoldsburg. Respect, inclusion, diversity, opportunity, education, and history. And it struck me that the three of us who were working on this, and this is just on our Welcoming and Diversity Commission and not including Roubaix and the arts, but we each brought a different kind of perspective about what each of those words meant. And the reason I'm bringing this up is another one of our discussions in the past has been a possible initiative is to just have chat opportunities for the city. We coined it a chat bench, which some cities have, and I think that it's a common practice in actually in England, where they have chat stations around their communities where people just come and talk. So just in our own little committee, I found it really interesting that we view these things in our city differently. And so I think down the road, maybe our commission's going to be possibly talking about how we engage with the people in the city, the citizens, and what does this mean to them? You know, do our new Nepali and Bhutanese neighbors think of diversity different than the longstanding people that have been born and raised in Reynoldsburg? And what does opportunity mean to different people? And so I think this sign might be a real jumping off point to have conversations in the city. And I think the Tomato Festival is going to be a good opportunity place. I know Les is going to have a tent out there, and he welcomed our commission, I think, to come join him. So, you know, it is going to be interesting to see where our commission can take this. If we're a welcoming commission, and if people feel free to have conversations around this, and certainly history, you know, me in particular, I'm very lacking in the history of Reynoldsburg. And with our new neighbors coming in, or people of long standing who said, oh, I never knew that, what's that about? And education's always a big topic. So anyway, I just wanted to circle back and share that one of our other initiatives on our commission is to figure out how to get out into the marketplace and talk to people and let them know that their thoughts about the city are welcome, whatever it is. And so we'll go on from there. And then the other thing I just might add is we're down to only 3 members on our commission. So I'm reaching out to anybody who's listening to this, or you know, maybe Jessica can put something out. We started out with a real good turnout. I think it was more than a dozen of us, but then COVID hit and
It
things
was
just
a lot. It was a lot easier to have some of these meetings when people could stay at home and kind of
Yeah.
log on that way, as opposed to coming back in. Not everybody's there yet.
Right. So anybody who's listening to this, not only does our committee need welcome and want more members, but I think probably maybe the other ones do
Yeah,
as well.
typically the only one that has a very good following is the traffic and transportation, where everyone else kind of also floats about. But when you mentioned the chat bench, I know I've talked to the director of parks, and we have had that conversation. And in an effort to, in essence, to kind of solve multiple problems with one solution, the city has been investigating the opportunity at council's request about the elimination of single-use plastics, specifically single-use plastic bags. And we do know that there is a company that we are working very diligently to get a hold of. It's one of the few in the nation that actually collects those single-use plastic bags, and they actually process them and make them into benches themselves. So what we're hoping to do is find a way to kind of address both of those issues, specifically with some of our small businesses, working with grants to have those single-use plastic bag receptacles to be put into that, and then hopefully at the point the city can collect those themselves and then turn them into process to help with that, to kind of take something that is not needed as much as most people would think and turn that into hopefully a couple of different benches that we can put in locations throughout the city. I think that ultimately there needs to be more than one. One thing that'll be nice is part of the Main Street revitalization program will actually have some benches and some actual seating in that area ultimately when it is completed. And so that might be something that we can designate that as an area with a, in a bench mentality there, but then also spread it throughout the other parts of our community.
Right, and again, piggybacking off what the lady said just earlier about, I think you mentioned something about not only maybe murals, but metal artwork around the city. So in some cities I've seen, they actually have artwork out of metal, but it's a container for, plastic things to go into it. Well, if it's on the beach, it's a turtle or something, so that might be a possibility too. Les, did you want to add anything to this? Or you want to come up to the microphone here?
Thank you. The only thing I'd like to add as far as diversity committee is that we have on May 21st, we have a multicultural event, a multicultural Reynoldsburg event, where we have a Saturday afternoon of various cultures coming together at the high school auditorium at Livingston campus. Several various cultures will be presenting singing, dancing, and music, and artwork in the lobby. We have the Macedonian community, Hindu community, the Jewish community, the
Ethiopian.
Bhutanese community.
Ethiopian as well. Ethiopian community.
Yeah, the Ethiopian community. So, it's a wide range of diverse cultures coming together for an afternoon of presentation. And I think it's going to be a very nice way to start, getting together with all these cultures. And it's right up our alley in the diversity committee.
Right. I know you've worked very hard on that.
Yeah.
Good. Congratulations. Thanks for what you do. Yeah. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Any other questions, comments from the audience? Sure, come on up. Only just so that way we can hear you.
Sorry, I was going to ask what time that event was.
It's from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, if there's nothing else from our Welcome and Diversity Committee, again, for those of you watching, for those of you out there that are interested, you're more than welcome to join in any of these groups at any time. There's no obligation. You're not signing a lifetime contract or anything like that. This is just taking a little bit of time throughout the week to kind of answer some questions and get involved in our community. And with that, thank you all for joining, and we will see you in 1 month. Thank you.